Hey, welcome to today's lesson. Now, we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs, and I think this is one of the main reasons people do not achieve what they want to achieve. It holds people back from success, limiting beliefs. And we're going to talk about the justifications that you make with yourself that's holding you back. So your mind is a mega powerful thing, okay? Sometimes I don't think we give it enough credit how powerful your mind is, but sometimes it works against you. It's not always working in your favor. So we're going to have a look at the limiting beliefs that you might have or you probably have, and how we can kind of rewrite them for good. So the voice in your head isn't always right. In fact, a lot of the time it's pretty damn wrong. Now, if you've ever caught yourself saying, I just don't have the time, I'll start when life comes down, I've tried everything possible, and those phrases feel really true in the moment, they sound reasonable, they might even make you feel better temporarily. But here's the uncomfortable thing I'm going to say about this right now. It's not reality speaking. It's your brain justifying any inaction that you are not taking. It's protecting you from discomfort, and it's actually keeping you exactly where you are. And we need to sort that out. If you want to change something about your life, we need to sort those limiting beliefs out so you're not constantly telling yourself, I can't do this, and justifying it to yourself. So what are limiting beliefs? Well, limiting beliefs are subconscious stories that we tell ourselves to stay comfortable, to feel comfortable. They masquerade as logic, as wisdom, or even self-awareness. They feel protective. They almost feel nurturing. But in reality, they're invisible barriers to stop progress before it even begins. Now, these beliefs operate quietly in the background, shaping your decisions. They drain your motivation, they drain your energy, and they're convincing you that change is impossible, that I can't do that, oh, that's not fair that they can do that, all that kind of stuff, okay? Now, the only thing standing between you and your goal is a story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. I'll say that again. The only thing standing between you and your goal is the story you keep telling yourself about why you cannot achieve it. And the most dangerous part of all of this is that you often don't realize you're carrying these. They often become part of your identity, woven into how you see yourself and what you believe you're capable of. It becomes someone's identity in the end because you tell yourself so often that you can't do certain things, you haven't got the ability to do it. And we need to try and shake that. Otherwise, you're just going to be constantly in that cycle of low self-esteem. So here's a few common limiting beliefs that sound familiar, and you might have these right now, you might have had them in the past, you might have them in the future, okay? I don't have time to train or eat well. So the translation to this is other things feel more urgent, so health gets pushed aside indefinitely. The next one could be healthy food is too expensive. The translation for that is I haven't explored affordable options and prioritized my budget differently. The next one could be I'll never look like that. So the translation to that will be I'm comparing my beginning to someone else's middle and using it as an excuse to quit because I know it's going to be difficult. The next one could be I don't have the discipline to do that. The translation for this is I haven't built the right systems or environment to support my goals yet. And then the next one could be it's just my genetics, I'm never going to change. And the translation to that is when you blame biology, it's far easier than taking responsibility for what you can actually control. So if you recognize any of those, you are not alone, okay? These beliefs are incredibly common, but that doesn't make them true. And that's what we've got to get into our heads here, is that these aren't true. So the uncomfortable truth, again, none of these are facts. None of those things you're telling yourself are factual. They're safety nets that your mind builds to protect you from feeling uncomfortable, from discomfort. They protect you from vulnerability. They protect you from the possibility of failure. That's a big one, isn't it? People are afraid of failing. So your brain is wired to keep you safe. It's just an innate human thing we have. It's wired to keep you safe. And staying the same feels way safer than stepping into that unknown. But here's what your limiting beliefs do not tell you. Discomfort is where growth lies. It's where change happens. Every person who's transformed their health, their body, or their life has had to face the same stories you're telling yourself right now, but they confronted them and they pushed through them. They stopped believing in those limiting beliefs, and that is the difference. So here we have the cycle of inaction, okay? Now, limiting beliefs don't just hold you back once, they create a repeating loop that reinforces itself every single day, and that is how it becomes your identity. Now, if we understand this cycle, it's the first step to breaking free from it. So first up is the belief, a limiting thought that takes hold. I don't have the time, okay? The excuse, so you justify it. Work's just too busy right now. The inaction is going to be you skip the workout, you order a takeaway, you delay the start of a weight loss journey. The next thing is guilt. You start feeling disappointed in yourself for not following through. And then what happens is the reinforced belief. So you go to yourself, see, I knew I couldn't do it. I'm just not that person. I was right all along. And that is the cycle. And then you go into that limiting belief again. You go to the excuse, the inaction, the guilt, and the reinforced belief. So breaking this cycle is not easy, but you need to start with it somewhere. And it starts with awareness. So you can't change what you don't acknowledge. If you can acknowledge you're in this cycle and where you are in this cycle, noticing the pattern is the first step against changing it, for changing it even. So how to overcome limiting beliefs first and foremost. So changing lifelong thought patterns ain't going to be easy, okay? But it is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Two very different things there. Easy and simple are very different things. It requires honesty, it requires repetition, and a willingness to change that little voice in your head. And here is a bit of a 3-step framework to try and do that, okay? So the first one is to recognize the thought. Catch yourself in that act. When did you hear yourself saying, I can't or I don't have? When you do that, pause, write it down. That awareness is powerful. It's going to be your kind of superpower, and you can't fight against an enemy you cannot see, so you need to recognize that. When you've done that, you challenge it. That's the next step. So you ask yourself, is this absolutely true? Not, does it feel true? That is a variable fact, okay? So the most limiting beliefs come under scrutiny. Is this absolutely true? That's what you need to tell yourself, and it won't be. It 100% won't be. They're opinions, they're not evidence, they're not factual. And then we replace it. So we rewrite, that's better, the belief into something empowering but realistic. So you're not lying to yourself, you're choosing a better lens. So we've got to I can't say the word, rewrite it. There we go. I got it in the end. Perfect. I can say it. I'm not going to try and say it again. Old belief, I don't have time to work out. Okay, the empowered truth, I can't find 20 minutes for myself. I can find 20 minutes for myself, even if it's broken into 2 10-minute sessions. So that's the new truth. You're going to challenge that limiting belief that you don't have time to work out, and you're going to find a way that you can, and you're going to speak it into existence. I can find 20 minutes for myself, even if it's broken down into 2 10-minute sessions per day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. I will find time. If you do this consistently enough, your brain will start to believe your new story. You reinforce this good kind of thinking, the positive thinking. Repetition rewires your neural pathways. What you practice, you become. Very powerful stuff. So we have the accountability factor here now. Here's something powerful, and you're far more likely to follow through with it when someone else knows your goal. That's the accountability. If someone else knows what you're trying to do, it's not about the pressure, it's about structure, support, and a bit of proof as well. So when you work with a coach, or you join a committed group, or you're training with your friend, or you tell your friend or your partner what you're doing, you replace self-doubt with external accountability. It's a good way to get started with this. So you stop relying solely on your internal motivation. It fades, okay? Motivation, when you're trying to do it on your own, can fade. And you start building systems that can carry you forward even on the days that suck, even on those hard days. So for example, a coach like myself can see your blind spots, so the limiting beliefs you don't even know you have. That's my job, that's what I do. A community can normalize efforts. If suddenly showing up isn't heroic, it's just what everyone else does. Everyone else who's trying to achieve something shows up and does it. That's what a community is great for. Then accountability creates proof. So every time you honor a commitment to yourself or to someone else, you prove to yourself that you can change. So it creates proof. When you create proof that you can change, you build confidence, you build self-belief. You do not need more willpower, you need better support. That's the key, okay? Now, you can't grow and stay comfortable at the same time. Growth demands discomfort. Change requires uncertainty. So progress lives the other side of fear. And these aren't motivational cliches. They're biological truths. If you get uncomfortable, you will be changing. You will be trying to grow. You will be improving in some aspects. Your brain is designed to keep you safe, not to help you grow. It doesn't like it. It doesn't want to do it. Safety lives with the familiar, growth lives in the challenge. So we need to get uncomfortable. Super important you do that. You step forward, get uncomfortable, confront it. The moment you stop believing your excuses, your life changes. Everything changes. Not overnight, not magically, but consistent, powerful steps forward every single day will undeniably transform your life. So every limiting belief that you've carried has been a comfortable little lie, a way to avoid the discomfort and effort. And if we're honest with ourselves, this is the case, isn't it? It's the vulnerability of trying that holds us back, the risk of failure that holds us back. But this is the truth you need to hear, and that's what I'm here for, okay? The discomfort of staying the same eventually becomes greater than the discomfort of change. That is powerful. So the discomfort of staying the same eventually becomes greater than the comfort of change. The only question is, how long are you going to wait before you really start to change? When you get so uncomfortable with where you're at as to how and where you want to be in the future. The discomfort of staying the same is so uncomfortable that you'd rather change. That's what we need to really get to, okay? How long are you going to wait until you get to that position? Your next step is turn awareness into action. Reading this won't change your life, but doing this will. Right now, whilst this message is still fresh in your mind, take 5 minutes to complete this exercise, okay? Step 1, we're going to write it down. What is your biggest limiting belief right now? The one that shows up most often, the one that feels the most true. What is that number 1 biggest limiting belief right now? Step 2 is to challenge it. So ask yourself, is this true? Is it really, really true? Because more than likely it's not going to be true. Or is it a story that I've accepted without question? And step 3 is to rewrite it. There we go. Second time. Got it. Turn that limiting belief into a statement of power. Okay, make it realistic but empowering. This is your new truth. So the example here is going to be, I don't have the discipline to stick with anything. The reframe is going to be, I'm building discipline one small decision at a time. Progress is not perfection. Progress is more important than perfection. So this is where the transformation begins, all right? Not with a perfect plan, but with an honest conversation with yourself. You've spent years reinforcing the old beliefs. Now it's time to practice some new ones, all right? So hopefully this has really helped you kind of understand what might well be holding you back and how you can change it. And be honest with yourself. You need to be honest. If you say you haven't got time, is that actually the case? Or are you making an excuse because you don't want to get uncomfortable? If you say you haven't got the discipline, is that true? Or are you making an excuse so you don't have to get uncomfortable? I think it's the latter. More often than not, we can always find time. We can always find something that's going to push us forward. We've got to get uncomfortable. We've got to do this, okay? Let me know if you have any questions about this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.